Good morning, everyone. I'm Holly Coriel, a member of the Board of Trustees of Tahoma UU Congregation. We welcome all who are joining us with a longing for community, the hope for peace, and who are seeking justice. We are a diverse congregation where we gather seeking our own truth, beliefs, and a more meaningful life than we might find if on this journey alone. We invite you to join us in this search, which is guided by reason, respect for each other, and a peaceful heart. We pledge to be guardians of each other's spirit and to always believe in each person's worth and dignity. We are grateful for everyone who joins us in our service and in our covenant. Welcome to you all. So please know that this service is going to be posted on our Facebook site at some point in the near future. And there you will also find some other communications about what's going on with the church. These will also be in your email inboxes, information about upcoming events. I do want to draw your attention to a couple of things that are going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks. For example, next Sunday, September 6th, yes, we're already into September. Following worship service at 12 noon, please join the Social Justice Committee for a UU The Vote with Vote Forward letter writing campaign. Please look for details online to register in advance for this program. Then on Sunday, September 13th, we'll be online for our annual water service, and afterwards we'll host a bring your own sweets at home ice cream social on Zoom. Yum. Please look for details on all our gatherings in the weekly e-news that is posted on our church website, and you can find the link to that in the chat. So now let us prepare to gather together in service. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Here we have come to this virtual place to be in the presence of each other and in the presence of all that is within and around us. We make space in time, in this time of chaos and fear, to sit for a few moments with friends and companions and take, if we can, an unclenched breath and settle into being together. Drop your shoulders, relax your face, let go of the need to be anywhere other than here. Let go of the need for the world to be any different than it is right now. Let us be here in this virtual place, knowing that through the ether, through the distance, no matter the turmoil and difficulties that surround us, this is a place to simply be and know that you are not alone, but ever and always tied to each other and to all that is. Let us gather together.
Please ready your chalices as Nancy lights our chalice in the sanctuary. We light this chalice in deep respect for the mystery and the holiness of life, in honor and gratitude for those who have gone before, with love and compassion for those who dwell among us, and with hope and faith for the generations to come.
Good morning. I'm Nancy Slocum. I'm the Director of Religious Exploration for Children and Youth here at Tahoma Unitarian Universalist congregation. Welcome everyone today. It is so very nice to be with you. This is our time for all ages when I invite the children to gather close to the computer, to the screen for our time for all ages today. You've got the glums. My partner Tom said that to me recently. You've got the glums. And I thought about it and thought, he is right. You know what glum means? What being glum is? Actually, glum is a great word because glum to me is one of those words that sounds like what it means. Being glum, being down in the dumps, being sad. And it's just something that hangs around and won't go away, feeling glum. No one would ever say, glum, you mean happy. It's a word that just sounds sad. You've got the glums. And he was right. I had the glums. I've had the glums a lot these days. It's been a little tough. You know, this pandemic, I was all upbeat and positive in the beginning, and that was easy, right? Okay, we'll stay home, and I read lots of books, and I caught up on some Netflix, and that felt pretty good, but it's been going on a long time, and it's starting to wear on me. Things that I want to be able to do that I can't do, it's a little hard. And I watch the news or read it on the internet, and there's some tough stuff going on out in the world. There is a hurricane that happened where in Texas and Louisiana, where people's homes were destroyed and some people died. And even though nobody I know personally is affected by it, I can't help but feel sadness and feel loss when things like that happen. And there's still a lot going on around our country, around the racism. And we've talked about this in this time, about racism in our country and how we really want to work hard to make changes, to help get rid of the racism. But it's going to take some time, and it wears on me. It's hard. Do you ever get the glums? I'm wondering if you do. And there may be other things that make you feel glum, but where you just can't shake that feeling of sadness. And sometimes when I'm feeling most glum, it's hard to even think about what I can do about it. And that just makes it harder, right? So I thought to myself, if I can't, when I'm in the middle of feeling glum, if I can't come up with what I can do to help myself feel better, maybe what I need to do is make a list of all the things I can do when I'm feeling glum, so that I have something to go to when my mind just isn't able to help me come up with something, and I can read my list, and maybe that will help me move past the glums. So I started a list. I've got my notebook here, and I started writing. And I just kept writing and writing and writing, and there were all kinds of things that I came up with. So I thought I'd share some of those with you. And maybe these are things that you might want to put on a list of your own, or it might help spark some things that you especially love that help you feel better when you're feeling glum. So let's see, go for a walk. I try to walk a lot, but I have found physical activity really helps me. So whether it's going for a walk, or going for a swim, or doing yoga, or dancing. Dancing is always a good one. When I'm home by myself, I crank up the music and I dance around the house, and it always makes me feel better. When I go for walks, what I've realized is I need to go walking in different places so I can discover new things. And that's something else that helps me with the glums. I put down here on my list, do something new. Maybe it's discovering a new place, or maybe it's trying a new skill, something that I've always wanted to learn how to do. And right now, because I'm home, maybe I have some more time to do that. The other day, I don't know, I was watching some television program, and somebody said a way to help one feel better is to focus on beauty. And I found that I like doing that. Like I'll take my camera and go out and try to take pictures of beautiful flowers or beautiful things that I see, or read a beautiful poem, or take time to really enjoy the beauty in a perfectly ripe peach. I eat that peach and I really focus on it, and it helps me feel better. Caring for others. Sometimes it helps me feel better when I help do things for other people. And maybe it's a little random act of kindness. Maybe my granddaughter and I have some rocks that we've painted and we can hide rocks, or for people to find, or maybe it's leaving a plate of cookies on a neighbor's doorstep, or maybe it's picking up a phone and calling a friend and saying, hey, I'm thinking about you, and I love you, and I care about you, and is there something I can do to help you feel better? Okay, here's one that's gonna surprise you. Cleaning my room. Cleaning my room, which is a task I put off when I'm feeling glum, actually makes me feel better. Or cleaning my kitchen, or cleaning my living room, or any part of my house. But clearing away the clutter seems to create better energy in my house, and it feels better for me. Or doing a task that I've been avoiding. I recently defrosted my freezer. Maybe you've never defrosted a freezer, but the ice builds up on the inside and you've got to unplug it and you've got to get all that to melt away. And it's a bit of a task, but I probably spent more time thinking about how I ought to defrost my freezer than the time I actually spent doing it. And once it was done, I'll tell you, I would go, my freezer's in my basement, and I would make excuses to go down into my basement so I could open the door and just look at how beautiful it looked after it was defrosted and everything was all neat. It felt so good. Sometimes there's things happening in the world that I feel like people need to pay attention to. So sometimes taking some action about that, writing a letter to my senator or representative, or walking some food. In my neighborhood, there's somebody who put out a table with food for anybody who needs it. So sometimes I'll take something out of my cupboard and just walk it up there and put it on the table. And that feels good, feeling like I'm helping someone out there who maybe needs some food. And my new thing that I'm doing is I've decided I need to plan a vacation. I don't know when I'm gonna take it. I don't know where I'm gonna go, but I'm gonna start doing the research and I'm gonna start making a plan. And then when the time comes when I can hop on a plane and go somewhere, I will be ready. So what really interested me though, as I wrote my list, and there's a lot more things on my list, is things that weren't there. Things like sitting down with my computer or my iPad and just like clicking on the internet and surfing the web and just spending idle time doing that. And sometimes I do that too much of that, I think, because it isn't something that makes me feel happy. Or playing games on my computer. They're a way to kill some time, but they're not what make me feel really happy. So that helps me think about, how do I want to spend my time so that I can avoid the glums? So I'm wondering what's on your list. What are the things that help you feel better? And I'd like to encourage you at some point, maybe you and your family can make a list of the things you can do when you're all feeling a little glum. In fact, right now, just take a moment. If you're with somebody, say to them one thing that comes to mind when you're feeling glum. I'll wait. If you're by yourself, you could just jot it down or just think of it to jot down later. Make that list for yourself and keep adding to it as you discover new things that make you feel happy. It won't change the situation. I'm still going to be living under the rules of the pandemic for a while longer, but at least I've got some resources that I can turn to that can help me when I've got the glums, and I hope you will do the same. That is our time for all ages, and I will speak the words that we use to sing kids out of the church when they're going to their classes, leaving our sanctuary. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your hearts be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life, we hold you in our love as you go.
Now is the time we offer our financial gifts to the work of this congregation. Thank you for your consideration to support our church during this uncertain and volatile time. You may follow the link on this slide to contribute your support for our church members and staff, like Nancy, working tirelessly to keep our congregation connected in new and dynamic ways. Every little bit helps, and while we are physically apart, our gifts are certainly stronger together. Now join me in the dedication of our offering unison reading that you can also find the lyrics to on the following slide. We dedicate ourselves and our offerings to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of love we call community, both within and beyond these walls.
We come to a time of meditation together. As a part of the vigil of our service today, we're opening up a space for you to share what is weighing hard on your heart this week. As you share in the chat box after I do a quick reading, I invite you to share in the chat box those things that are weighing on you, that are troubling your heart, that are troubling your mind. And as you do, Nancy will be adding drops of color to the water that is in the vase next to our chalice. Let's start with this reading from Worcestershire, what they did yesterday afternoon. They set my aunt's house on fire. I cried the way women on TV do, folding in the middle like a 5-pound note. I called the boy who used to love me. I tried to okay my voice. I said, hello. He said, Warson, what is wrong? What's happened? I've been praying, and these are what my prayers look like. Dear God, I come from 2 countries. One is thirsty, the other is on fire. Both need water. Later that night, I held an atlas in my lap, ran my fingers across the whole world and whispered, where does it hurt? It answered, everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. Please share what is weighing on your heart. The time apart.
Complicated, confusing relationship issues.
Black people still getting murdered by police.
My health, COVID-19, that Trump will cheat and be the president again.
Annie asks us to light a candle for her daughter who lost her job at the first of the month due to the pandemic, hoping that a new job will come forward.
There is so much disquiet in the world to speak about it. We placed a new sign in front of our house that we picked up in Seattle. In our house, we believe Black Lives Matter, women's rights are human rights. No human is illegal, science is real, water is life, in religious freedom, love is love, and kindness is everything.
Fear that I will lose my job.
The loss of another one of our heroes, Wakanda forever.
Ignorance.
Impending election and the need for a better national leader.
The Kenosha sheriff blaming protesters for being shot by the white kid who was illegally carrying a rifle.
Weighing on my heart, climate change as an undercurrent and exasperating everything.
Division, violence.
That protests and counter-protests are becoming violent and are inflamed by the current administration.
Fear that people will forget what they glimpsed when their eyes were opened.
I don't want to leave the house. People refuse to wear a mask or wear it over their nose wherever I go.
Separation from loved ones.
Climate change, health of family members, despair in the world.
Resigning a new job after only a week due to lax COVID-19 precautions, but still feeling failure.
Disconnection, fear, dishonesty, anger, the extremes of all these negatives.
Systemic racism and the people I know that don't believe it's real.
My last day at work is tomorrow.
The world's water crisis.
For those incarcerated against their will for just needing help from their community, then being in isolation.
The health department going after food is free.
California wildfires.
Fear that 2020 is only the beginning.
Neighbors threatening me harm over weeds.
What kind of world will my grandchildren's generation inherit? We hold this pain, this grief. We hold this fear in loving kindness. So may it be. Amen. My friends, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your griefs and pains this week. As they scrolled by, I was struck by how deep it is for us. And it is deep for me, just as it is for you. This week, some of you know I took part in a week-long conference that was held over in the United Kingdom. It's an annual gathering that is held in a beautiful rural retreat center, and I had been looking forward for the last year to being there this past week. But as with almost everything this year, the pandemic got in its way and the conference was scaled down to just the theme speakers. I was one of them, sharing our talks online. The theme was Speaking the Truth in Love, and the theme speakers shared their thoughts and insights on the meaning of truth. It was lovely to see some of my dear friends' faces and hear their voices and to listen to the other speakers. I had told everyone that in my theme talk, my theme speech, that I was going to center on what it meant to love and who we are called to love. I'll share some of that presentation next week on Sunday. But as Thursday arrived, I realized I had to revise some of my remarks to take into account what had been going on here in the US, so that the folks over there had a context in which, the context in which I was going to make my remarks. It had been a week too filled with too much, and I had to speak about the sense of doom, the grief, the anger, and the fear that I carried with me into that virtual room. I sat down at my computer and began to type the death of Jacob Blake, 7 shots in the back, his small children watching as he fell. The rage and loss overtaking the small town of Kenosha, the convention that was televised and which broke numberless norms for our political and governmental processes, the ongoing stream of lies that come from this administration, and my deep fear that there is no end in sight to the chaos we are currently experiencing. Wildfires in California, hurricanes on our southern coast, death surrounding us as the coronavirus continues to surge, even when we're seeing some numbers beginning to fall. Still, there are over 180,000 dead, more than 5 million infected, and the end is nowhere in sight. But what broke me this week was the murder of 2 protesters in Kenosha by an armed 17-year-old militia member. Those killings and the wounding of a third that cost the protester his arm broke me. Even more, I was broken by the fact that he walked away from that killing, went past the police who seemed not to care what had happened, and that laid plain the disconnect there is between white and Black men in our country. It laid bare the inequality and injustice that is woven so deeply into our history that it has been mostly unseen and unknown by those of us who are white for most of its history. It just broke me. Just the act of saying this all aloud lifts my anxiety level. It makes my heart beat faster and opens in me a sorrow for all that we have lost and will continue to lose as events tumble. The killing of a man in Portland last night just adds to the chaos. There is no end in sight. Take a minute to breathe with me. A few long, deep, slow breaths in and out again. Calm and comfort yourself. Allow tears to fall if they are ready to do so. This is our life and our world right now. We need to find our way through with clear vision of what is going on. One part of finding our way through is to be in the presence of all, to acknowledge the reality that surrounds us, to take it in and name our responses, whatever they might be, as we did a few moments ago. Anxiety, loss, grief, fear, whatever it is, name it, see it, acknowledge all those feelings, and then know that they are a part of you. Hold those feelings in compassion. Hold yourself in compassion. We are in the midst of events and feelings we're not ready to find a place of peacefulness in yet. It's too soon. Not enough has been solved. We cannot heal the grief and loss while it is still ongoing. But it is important for us to lift it up and name it, to hold it, to be aware of it. Our bodies, and especially our brains, are tuned into the experiences of threat and danger. We are built to respond and pay attention to threat and danger. It's been 6 months now of coping with this global pandemic and all the misery and fear and loss that has come with it. All of that is then compounded by the chaos of almost 4 years of this administration as social supports are dismantled and we're treated to a daily dose of outrage, lies, and helplessness. That's why it's essential. It is essential to keep up a practice of seeing what else is out there in the world. Some of what Nancy was telling us, sharing with our children and with us. It is essential to see what else is out there in the world, and we know it's there. As I said earlier, for those of you who missed it in our sharings of joys and sorrows, this week, one of the beautiful events was the birth of Maximilian Zachary Chaslain to Daniel and Zach. knowing this new life is in the world cannot help but bring us a bit of joy. Holiness abides, even in the times of struggle and of fear. Sophie Foz wrote, "Each night a child is born as a holy night," and we know that's true. There are millions of tiny kindnesses happening each day. Sharing the bounty of a backyard garden, the pleasure of the voice of a beloved friend, the blessing of an animal companion warm in your lap or nuzzled against your leg, the treasure of a good night's sleep when it comes, and that sharp taste of the first cup of coffee in the morning. What joys are there for you? What simple blessings have come to you during these difficult times? My colleague Ann Tyndall reminds us that we will get through difficult times by our ability to be blessed and fed by abiding things. And it is necessary for us to see the world in all its difficulty and sorrow, and it is absolutely necessary to lift up that which also abides: love, commitment, hope, peace. So the final moment in this vigil today is to set our vision toward what we can do, knowing all that we know about the world in its chaos and in its delights. So what is your intention? What will you do, given what you know? Write letters for you the vote. Call on your neighbors who may need assistance, masked and socially distanced, of course. Donate resources to food banks and associated ministries, which helps those in our county who are homeless or at the edge of homelessness. Will you support the activists who are working for change, or maybe put your body in the street when asked to show up? You can listen to those who grieve and hold them in love. There are a million things that you can do to heal what is broken in our world, even if it is just this small moment, even if it seems useless. So I invite you to set your intention for this week, to make a commitment to do something little, something big, to heal the world. We'll pause in stillness, and then there'll be yet one more act together to share what is bringing us hope. So may it be. We're going to have our closing song, which is Wo Ya Ya. And as it starts to play, I invite you to go to menti.com, MENTI.com, and enter the code 385218. This should be popping up in your in the chat. And there you'll be invited to share your words of hope. And sorry, I'm getting distracted by the messages. That'll create a word cloud for us to see. So as the music plays, hum and sing along as much as you can, as you share your hopes, what is lifting you up there in that space. And then we'll come back and see what beauty we have created. Let us sing together. I invite Jonina to share a quick reading with us as we start to look at the beautiful picture we have created.
A reminder to enfold yourself in small comforts by Margaret Rankle. in the New York Times. Rankle writes about the small moments of goodness and care that surrounds us even in these times of stress and difficulty and fear. After asking for stories from her readers, she reports on the experience on reading what they had to say. Tears welled up as I read their stories, and by the time I'd reached the end, I was openly weeping. It felt like nothing less than a blessing in this hurt and hurtful time to remember how creative human beings can be, how tender and how kind. We may be in the middle of a story we don't know how will end, or even whether it will end, but we are not helpless characters created and directed by an unseen novelist. We have the power, even in this age of anxiety, to unfold ourselves in small comforts, in the joy of tiny pleasures. We can walk out into the dark and look up at the sky. We can remind ourselves that the universe is so much bigger than this fretful, feverish world, and it is still expanding and still filled with stars.
Our closing words are from Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. Amen.
Please join me in the unison reading as Nancy extinguishes our chalice at the sanctuary. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Now, hold hands with anyone nearby, virtually. Know that we're all seeking to hold your hand as well.
You, I receive, to you I give, together we share, and of this we live. From you I receive, to